Hello, welcome to Verbling. I'm teacher Oakley, and this week here on Verbling, for the next few days at this particular time slot on Verbling, we will be looking at the TOEFL writing test. Now, we've been looking at the four main aspects of TOEFL. This will be the fourth week. We've looked at speaking, reading, listening, and now writing. So this will conclude basically a month of looking at TOEFL. Again, this week we're going to concentrate on TOEFL writing class. Today's class specifically, we're going to just discuss the format, the scoring, and some basic tips and strategies that you should be using. Important points, what TOEFL is looking for in your writing. Because it is an overview class, I welcome students to ask anything whatsoever about TOEFL, the TOEFL exam, in comparison to IELTS. You want to ask about other parts of the exam, I don't care. I'm here today basically to just outline what to expect and to answer any and all questions, so don't be shy. I tend to get rolling when I talk about this stuff, and I get a little excited and I get into explaining, so don't be shy about interrupting me, frankly. Don't worry about it. I want you to do that, so it's okay. If you have any questions, again, whatsoever about any aspect, it's quite all right. Okay, the last thing before we're going to actually get started. This is 4 classes here on Verbling at this time slot. Today's the first one for 4 consecutive days. Now, on the 4th day, we are going to examine some samples of writing and basically edit them together, talk about what's good and what's bad. That's fine. I can bring you examples which I can bring to the class. However, if somebody would like to be brave and send me in the Verbling message box system, just find me on the tutoring page and send me a message. You can send me a document. There's a file button below, and you can send me a document, and we will look at it in our final class of the week, so we have an actual example to look at. If not, fine, I'll find some examples on my own. But if someone would like to actually get a critique of their own writing in the group class, if you're not too shy, I will even do it anonymously. I won't even tell the class if you wish. I won't even tell the class whose paper it is, and we can do it anonymously. So don't worry about being embarrassed. Don't be shy. There's no reason to. Anyway, I won't say whose it is. Okay, enough of that. So let's take a look at TOEFL writing. First, I want to welcome you guys to the class. Maybe ask you a couple quick questions, and then we'll get started. Hello, Mustafa.
Hello, teacher. Good morning. Good afternoon. I think good afternoon. Yeah.
Yeah, afternoon where I am now. Welcome to the class. How was your weekend?
My weekend is good. Thank you for asking. But a little bit like annoying me.
A little
Uh,
annoying. Why?
yeah. What's annoying me? I wanna wake up like early, but I cannot. Like I am trying to force myself.
Ah, that's okay. Sleep late. It's
Yeah.
okay.
No. Because I missed some of your classes. Your class is amazing. Like early classes of you. You have
Ah,
amazing classes. Yeah.
well, thank you. Anyway, thank you very much. Okay, I'm gonna say hello to some of your classmates here. Hello, Angel.
Hello, teacher. My name is Angel Urquijo, live in Colombia, and my English is bad, really, really, really
Well,
bad.
okay. Uh, no problem. Now, Angel, may I ask, do you have plans in the future to take a TOEFL exam or maybe another exam, IELTS or CAE? Are you preparing?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. My dream is create music in English. I'm musician. I am artist and have videos in YouTube. In my country, I have shows. My life is the music. In 6 months, I travel for Australia, and my dream is create music in English.
Okay, that's cool. Okay, so you need to get the. Are you going to take a TOEFL or IELTS exam in order to get a visa?
The visa, it's en trámite, no sé cómo decirlo. It's in trámite in this moment. My family
Okay.
in Australia is a sponsor for me,
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool.
and I waiting in this moment.
Okay. All right, cool. Couple, just a little bit of English feedback for you. Thanks for sharing that, first of all. But okay, I am artist. Artists are countable. One artist, six
Artist,
artists. So,
artist.
but you're talking about one, so you need an article. I am an artist.
Okay,
So
and I am an artist.
there you go. All right. You always need an article to talk about a countable noun in general. And you're going to travel to Australia, not travel for Australia, because you want to use to show transfer, A to B.
Okay, okay, okay,
All right.
okay. Understand.
Yep. Cool. Well, anyway, welcome to the class. Any questions at all? Don't be shy. Okay. I also want to welcome Albina.
Hello, can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Yes.
Yes, nice.
Very,
I
very good.
I am here because I'm from Kyrgyzstan. I'm here because I want to refresh my knowledge in writing. We used to write essay and composition almost every week at university, and I want to refresh, to brush up my mind in this area.
Okay, you want to brush up in this area. Okay, so kind of review and study.
Yeah.
Good phrasal verb there. You brush up on something. Okay, very good. And okay, I'll follow that up when I introduce what you're, so you'll know what we're actually looking at, what types of writing. Just a second, let me also welcome Mikhail. Hello, Mikhail. Welcome. Mikhail, hello.
Hello, my connection is not very good, so okay, now it's better. Hello, Oakley. Can you hear me?
Hi. Yes, Mikhail, I can hear you loud and clear, actually. You're good.
Okay, I'm glad.
Okay. Mikhail, do you have any plans on taking a standardized English exam in the future?
I don't have any definite plan.
Okay. I think you cut out a little bit. Well, there you go. Out and in.
That I will take this exam perhaps several years later. Let's say so.
Okay. All right. All right. Okay, we only use, all right, several years later. We only use later if we're comparing in reference to another time. Okay, like I arrived in the class 20 minutes later than it started. So sometime, okay, I will probably take the test. Okay, later on, you can say. Later on.
Yeah.
There you go.
2 or 3 years later on.
There you go. Now that works. Okay. All right, let's take a look. Now, thank you, because sometimes there are aspects why you guys are here, or if you're taking another exam. Thank you for being very forthright in why you're here, because if somebody's taking an IELTS test, I can relate the material also to IELTS, or if somebody's All right, great. Albina's trying to brush up on writing, so I can keep that in mind. So thank you, everyone. Okay, what is the TOEFL exam? What are you actually being asked to do? Well, okay. Well, let me do a screen share and show you the basics and talk about it a little bit. So, in the writing section, you're going to be asked to do 2 essays. Number 1, first essay, you will read a passage. I believe you're given 3 minutes to read a passage, which is more than adequate, actually. And then after that, you will listen to a lecture on the same topic. You will write an essay that discusses the relationship between the two. Now, in this task 1, quite simply, either the lecturer will agree with the written material that you read, the reading passage, or he will argue against the material in the reading passage. Your job is simply to report this relationship. All right? This is not an opinion piece. The first task, you should not use any first-person pronouns. Use any first-person pronouns. No I, me, mine at all. It is a reported essay. Okay? I guess that's basically it. You have 20 minutes to write this essay. You must write 150 words. If you write less than 150 words, it will cost you points on the exam. Usually 150 to 225 is what's recommended, but at least 150. Again, you only have 20 minutes to do that. Okay, the second part of the exam is an opinion essay, straight up opinion essay. They are probably going to give you background material and say which one do you choose. For example, many people prefer to live in a climate where there are seasons, 4 distinct seasons a year. Other people prefer to live in a warm tropical climate. Which do you prefer and why? Something of that nature. So you're going to make a choice and you're going to support your opinion. No doubt I'll repeat myself, some of these tips I'm giving you, but because I'm thinking of it, in the essay, of course, you're going to use first person. In my opinion, I would prefer to live, okay. My life, blah, 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 okay. Great. Also, in task 2 for TOEFL, you must use examples, personal examples. Okay? You have to do that to get a decent score. So, when it comes to deciding between the 2 things you're given a choice of, a couple points. 1, first of all, always choose what is easier for you to talk about. What do you know more about? What can you give more examples? The right answer is not necessarily the true answer. The same thing goes for the speaking test. As a matter of fact, the same advice I can give you for every single standardized English test anywhere. The correct response is not necessarily the truth. None of these exams, TOEFL, IELTS, CAE, FCE, whatever, none of them are going to go to your house and fact check you. Nobody cares if you're telling the truth or not. So the correct response in writing or speaking for any of these exams is, the correct response is whatever is easy for you to write or speak about. That's number 1. Secondly, specifically in relation to this speaking test, task 2, and as a matter of fact, this writing test, task 2, which, by the way, it's a preference question, is question 2, coincidentally, in the speaking exam on TOEFL. They're basically the same. Uh, it will give you a choice between two things. My advice to you is pick one. Don't try to take a middle of the road answer, for example, and say, well, sometimes I like the seasons because I enjoy winter sports, but sometimes I just want to lie on the beach all day and drink daiquiris. So don't give a both answer. It's harder to manage, and frankly, one thing about TOEFL that's a little different than some of the other exams. TOEFL expects what they expect. They do not really expect an extremely sophisticated response. What they expect is a very structured and direct response. They're not looking for you to write a magazine article for National Geographic. They're looking for what they're looking for. They are not really looking for poetic style. Straight ahead, follow their templates. Basically, they want a templated response. And over the next few days, we are going to work with templates. I'm just going to show you exactly what they want you to do using a template. And then you just kind of more or less plug in the content. Trying to get overly creative, I don't recommend it. Be boring. Frankly, TOEFL is an awfully boring test, whereas IELTS allows you to be somewhat creative and maybe go a little bit out of bounds. They pretty much support and they pretty much like unusual idiomatic language and words and so forth. The TOEFL exam is frankly more dry and boring, to be perfectly honest. The TOEFL exam compared to the IELTS exam is also scored a lot differently. And I want to talk about the scoring next. But for now, the format. Any questions? You guys have any questions about the format before we move on to how it is scored? Nope. Okay. Well then. Nope. Good. Okay. How the writing section is scored. Now, the entire TOEFL exam is made up of 4 sections: reading, listening, speaking, writing. Each of those sections has a maximum score of 30. So 30 times 4, best possible score on the TOEFL IBT, that is the computerized test, is 120. Okay, now, by the way, the TOEFL exam used to be a paper exam. It is largely moved into the into the next century and is basically a computerized test. So you're going to be writing on a computer, unless you live in some extremely remote location, which, since you're all here on a computer today, I seriously doubt you do. So you no doubt if you're going to take the TOEFL exam, it's going to be a computerized test. And you will be writing this test on a very, very basic. Your tools will be cut, copy, paste. Simple. That's all you have. A very simplified word processor. Real basic. That's it. Now, but the test is scored. I mentioned the best possible score is 30. Now, this may seem a little weird here. Your TOEFL essays are graded on a 0 to 5 scale. All right, what that means, and you can end up, by the way, they score things like with 0.5, so 3.5 is possible. What happens is you get that's your raw score. Then, based on the degree of difficulty of the material, in other words, how previous students, how they fared, how they scored, when the same questions were given earlier, somehow based on some kind of algorithm that TOEFL uses, which frankly is priority information. It is not shared with the public. We can only really guess, but somehow they take your raw score and they extrapolate that to your scaled score. So obviously a perfect score, raw score would be a 10. 2 questions, 0 to 5. Somehow that gets scaled to the 30, depending on degree of difficulty. Okay, and again, that is TOEFL companies, proprietary information, and so that's not made extremely specific. Only what I just told you is what we know. Now, what are they scoring on? This is interesting, and this should affect how you attack the TOEFL exam. Here, looking at these 4 bullet points, does it address the topic and the task? In other words, are you answering the question? You are not encouraged to really go off on sidebars and provide side information about any of these questions. Really, you really have to stick to it. In fact, a small strategy here that I recommend is as you're writing, you continue to, again, look at the question. And ask yourself, is what I'm writing directly answering the question above? It's easy to get a little sidetrack over the time limit and start, you get off topic. You want to avoid that. So there you go, simply answering the question. Second bullet point, well organizes, uses appropriate examples. I already mentioned you must use examples in question 2. In question 1, you use examples, of course, obviously from the written material and the spoken lecture. So actually you have to use them in question 1 as well. This is key, is well organized. This refers to your paragraphing. This is not so hard. This is pretty easy. You need to have an introductory paragraph, supporting paragraphs, and a concluding paragraph, like a hamburger. The top bun is your introduction. The meat in the middle is the meat of your argument, all your points, each point being designated to a separate paragraph. Point, you make your point in the first sentence, then you give examples of that, or more detailed information, and then a new paragraph. Believe me, we're going to be looking at that this week. So that's it. Very simple. That's 25% of your score. Are you using examples, 2 or 3 examples, and are you paragraphing? Pretty easy to knock out that part of the scoring. The third important bullet point displays unity, progress, and coherence. All right, let me say this a different way that's much more simple and to the point. You need to use transitions. There's kind of 2 types of transitions: signal words or phrases, and then, of course, conjunctions. Okay, this is, again, 25% of your scoring, and frankly, it's a lot more than that, because this falls into the organization. It also falls into the use of language. So this is probably the single most important thing you need to study and to do. And now let me go a little bit off topic. Okay, Albina, I'm going to get to your question about the scoring in just a second. All right, I'll come back to that. I haven't forgotten.
Okay.
Just give me a second. All right, I'll come back to that because we're still talking about scoring. All right, I mentioned transitions, the heavy use of transitions which English uses. Now, frankly, studying transitions, things like, in my opinion, from my perspective and my point of view, the way I see it is, okay, to introduce your opinion, to introduce points. The first important aspect is, secondly, additionally, another important factor as well. These kinds of ways that we introduce or signal what kind of information is coming. We want to signal a contrasting point. We'll say, however, on the other hand, conversely. You need to know a lot of these. You need to be good at using them, not just for the writing section. In the listening section, you will listen to conversations and lectures, and the speakers will use these transitions to sort of pre-announce, here comes some important information, here comes my opinion, here comes an example, here comes my conclusion. You need to listen for them. The entire exam is strewn with these. In the reading section, before every important point, the academic reading that you will be looking at will be full of these transitions that will help guide you or point towards the important points, the important aspects of the reading material, which inevitably are going to be what all the questions are about. So, again, they're important. In speaking, you have to use them to organize your speech. Again, your organization and coherence, cohesion, sticking together is equally highly important in speaking, just as it is in writing. So, understanding transitions and having not only understanding them, the different purposes, uses, but having a wide variety of them. If I have to say one point about taking, and not just TOEFL, IELTS, FCE, CAE, any of these exams, if I had to give one piece of advice, that's all I'm allowed to give you guys, this would be it. You need to understand these. Again, in relation, of course, to these academic evaluation, English evaluation tests. Okay. Now, last thing I want to look at here, and to conclude the scoring, and then talking about, to answer Albina's question, what's a good, decent score. Last important point for the writing section, facility in the use of language. Wow. Okay, guess what? This is grammar and vocabulary together. 25% of your score. That means your actual use of grammar is only 12.5% of your total score. Whoopee! Vocabulary, 12.5%. This TOEFL exam does not do a whole heck of a lot in regards to actually scoring your actual nuts and bolts physical English use. Okay? Many first-time exam takers are very concerned, oh, my English isn't good enough, I've only been studying 2 years, blah, blah, blah. Actually, in reality, this exam, 3/4 of it, do you answer the question and are you organized? That's 3/4 of your score. So you've got to take that into account. Only one of these 4 criteria is actually concerned with English language. Crazy, isn't it? And yet, this is the exam you need to get into an English-speaking university or graduate school or get a visa in an English-speaking country. It's nuts. It's a crazy old world, I'll tell you what. Okay. The rest, how you complete the task and how organized. That's it. Okay, now, Albina is asking me what score should I get to be happy. Well, Albina, depends on you.
Yeah. to pass my this section, I mean.
Okay, well, all right. Let me try to explain that. Okay, now most people taking this exam or IELTS or okay, they're taking it because, well, there are different reasons to take these exams. One is to get a visa. Actually, if you're going to Australia, most people, unless they're sponsored, like Angel, they have to get a certain. They will give you a score. This actually, Australia works on a point system, which is quite complicated. I really can't explain it here. It has to do with your age and occupation and all kinds of stuff. But part of their point system is the IELTS exam. So if you're not doing well in points in one area, you have to do really well in IELTS. But vice versa, if you have whatever, a master's degree in electronic engineering, probably you're going to get a lot of points, and you're the right age, then you don't need to get such a good IELTS score. So it depends, is the answer. In that case, many people take it to get into universities or graduate schools. Each school has their own particular criteria, what they want you to get minimum as a minimum score. Many of them will accept either TOEFL or IELTS. And I don't know. Seriously, I've seen universities that want overall like a 70 or 72. I've seen other universities that demand like 110, which is going to be extremely difficult and challenging. 110 would be challenging for me, and I teach this stuff every day. So the range that universities take is really wide. That they request is really, really wide. I guess it has to do, I'm just guessing, I guess it has to do with the, I don't know, reputation of the school, how demanding they are with their students' credentials, I don't know, whatever. Now, most people, Albina, are going to end up somewhere around 60 to 80. That's very average. Okay. You know, when I said universities sometimes ask for 70, that's like an extremely average score in this test. I think the average score is like high 60s, 68, 67. But this may be dated. This is, I think I learned this like 3 or 4 years ago. That may not be true anymore, so don't quote me on it. But I think that's about an average. All right. Okay. So if you wanted to take the exam, some people take the exam, by the way, this or IELTS or especially CAE. Some people take it just as so they can put it on their resume. It's a nice way to pad your resume, and it shows that you can communicate in English with some degree of skill. In which case, you know, I don't know. There's obviously, the better you do, the better it looks for you. So, in reality, what is the passing grade? There is no passing grade. It is the reality. And what the individual needs depends on why each individual might be taking this exam. So, hard question to answer in reality.
Okay. Teacher,
yeah.
Can you elaborate more about the fourth one?
About which one?
The fourth.
Fourth, number 4. Yeah, sure. Yes, I can. What we're concerned with here is vocabulary and grammar. Let me start with vocabulary. It's writing. So they do want you to use more formal vocabulary. Please stay away from, when you're writing, no contractions. Okay, that's like I'm instead of I am. Use full form. Okay. What to avoid? No contractions, please. No, try to avoid slang. It's okay to use slang in less formal vocabulary in speaking. And this is true on every single, this is another point that is true on every one of these exams. It is acceptable to use informal speech in the speaking part of the test. It's acceptable to use reduced pronunciation. In fact, it's good. It shows you know how to. When we speak English, we speak less formally. We just do. We use ellipsis. We drop syllables, even drop subject nouns. We shorten words. We join words together. However, in writing, more formal is the general idea. No contractions, no slang, no abbreviations. So, for example, use the word information. Don't write info. Okay, things like that. As far as vocabulary, try to stay more formal. Let's see. What else? It is okay, by the way, to write symbols, things like percent or a dollar sign, or these are okay. But don't worry about that if you need to. What else? Regarding vocabulary. Okay, just here you go, Mustafa. Regarding vocabulary, the idea, what they're really looking for is for you to use, it's all about variety. It's bad to use, for example, the same keyword over and over again. In fact, when you're brainstorming, that's one thing you need to take 30 seconds, at least 30 seconds to a minute, to consider the keyword. There's always going to be a keyword. For in my example earlier, I mentioned some people like seasons and some people like a warm tropical climate. Well, all right, Mustafa, what's the deal? What do you think is the keyword there?
Of what, teacher, sorry?
What is the keyword? If the question is about which do you prefer, a seasonal climate or a warm tropical climate, what is the keyword?
I don't know.
Well, it's climate, because I used it twice. Okay, probably climate. So think about other ways to say climate, and they can be one-word ways, like the weather, season, time of the, they can be phrases, time of the year instead of seasons. You can use examples of seasons, winter, summer, spring, fall. Okay, they want to see you use a variety of words, not the same word over and over and over and over again. Okay, Albina?
Yes.
All right, you're asking about phrasal verbs, plus or minus. Okay, again, the formal, informal thing. Phrasal verbs in the speaking section, good. Phrasal verbs in the writing section, not so good. However, there are some phrasal verbs that do not have a synonym, other than a very long-winded explanation. There are a few. Almost all phrasal verbs have a synonym, a one-word verb, you know. In which case, in the writing, I would always use the one-word verb. But it's not, if there's a phrasal, you need to use a phrasal verb because there is no synonym and you need it to explain, then you're not going to lose points. It's okay.
Get up, for example, yeah?
Get
it's
up.
It's a phrasal verb where we cannot find the synonym.
Yeah. Well, you can. Awake.
Awake, yes. So I even cannot use get up.
Well, you could. Look, this is not really going to hurt you very much. What is regarding the vocabulary part, you know, basically small things, phrasal verbs, that would be very small, even insignificant. You're not really going to, I don't think you'd really lose anything as long as the meaning was correct. Misspellings, they're going to let you get away. They realize that this is a rough draft a first copy for you. And they are scoring it in that light. So if you have 4 or 5 misspellings, which counts in vocabulary, by the way, they're going to let that slide. I think it would be perfectly, you know, you would, you're still able to get a perfect score even though you have a few misspellings or something. That's not a huge deal. Okay, so basically try to use synonyms. Try to use adverbs and adjectives effectively in conjunction with nouns and verbs. All right. They want to see that you can use adverbs and adjectives to some degree. Basically, okay, just try to keep it in mind to stay a little bit formal. Albina, that's where I'm going next, talking about the grammar or sentence structure aspects of the exam. What they would, there's 2 things they want to see. They want to see, first and foremost, they want to see examples of the 4 types of sentences. Simple sentences, compound sentences, complex sentences, and compound complex sentences. That's number 1, most important. Now, if you are following my earlier advice and you're using your transitions, signal words and signal phrases, furthermore, okay, and in addition as well, you're using these subordinators or other transitions, subordinator transitions, coordinating subordinators, coordinating conjunctions to tie 2 independent clauses together. If you're using these, you're not going to have a problem because you have to. It's automatic. You don't have to really think about it. Just keep in mind that you need to use transitions when and wherever you can. And so the complexity of your sentence structure shouldn't be an issue. Tenses. Okay. It's actually very hard to find information about what they want you to do on verb tenses. But from all I have read, they most certainly want to see that you can speak in present, past, and future. They would like that you do not have to use all 16 active verb tenses, which would be pretty much insane. Okay? What they would like to see is they would like to see you able to use past, present, future, able to use an example of a perfect tense somewhere in your writing so they know you know how to do it. Somewhere they're going to want to see a continuous tense somewhere in your writing just to see that you can know how to do it. Somewhere they're going to want to see you use a passive sentence, passive voice, so they know that you know how to do it. That's about all you have to worry about as far as verb tenses. Certainly, they want you to use a gerund or an infinitive because they need to see that you know how to use gerunds and infinitives. I don't know how anybody could write. The second task is 300 words, an opinion piece. I don't even know how you could write 300 words without having to use a gerund or an infinitive. So it's nothing. I don't think I could write 300 words in an essay without using a gerund or an infinitive structure, honestly.
But teacher, sorry for interruption. Like
No problem.
you said like we have to use or recommend to use like the future tense, the past tense, the present tense. Like for example, like this. Include all of them.
Sorry?
Writing. Like include all of them in the writing section. Include all the verb tense like the future, the past, the present. Try to include them.
If you can do that, you know, if you're thinking, oh my gosh, but how will I write? They ask the question in the past tense. Well, if they give you the question in the past tense, fairly easy to use a present perfect structure, in an example, for example. Definitely, it's going to be easy to use past, present. How are you going to use a future? You
Yeah,
might want to,
right.
right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
You might want to consider using throwing in a sentence, a conditional sentence.
Mm-hmm.
If something happens, then I will move to a country with a warmer climate. If global warming uh, actually occurs at the rate that scientists say it will, then I will move to a warmer country. Ah, something like that.
Okay,
Okay? You might have to be a little tricky about it,
okay.
but you can usually manage to do it. You don't have to do it over and over again. Just show you know how to do all these things. That's it. And we're really you guys are asking very good questions about very specific grammatical aspects. Look, if you did all these things, which you are now talking to me about, all the verb tenses I mentioned, sentence structures, a gerund and an infinitive, a passive voice, that's 5 of 5. That's solid gold. You're talking about perfect essay time. If you miss one or two things, you can still get an extremely good score. Uh, we're talking about absolutely the example of a perfect uh, written response. Um, okay, again, all these things, both vocabulary and the grammar, are heavily affected. Again, I know I beat this dead horse a lot. Those transitions, those signal phrases, are ridiculously important because everything follows that. The complexity of you're going to use a lot of different ones. That shows your range in vocabulary. You're using the subordinate structures. You're forcing yourself to use complex and compound complex sentences. One follows the other. Okay. Basically, that's what they're looking for in the scoring. And again, everything we just talked about is only is really only here. This 25% of the scoring. Strangely enough, I just personally found it very odd that they're overly concerned with your answer and not your English. Seems weird to me. Okay. The whole idea, just a really basic way to look at it, you want to make the grader's job as easy as possible. You're basically writing like you're explaining things to I don't know, an elementary school student, really. They don't really want you to write like a college professor. They want you to write clear, not brilliant. Brilliant's not really good in this exam. It really isn't. They're not looking for brilliant. They're looking for unimaginative, dry, absolutely unambiguous. There's no way, no ambiguity. There's no way to look at this other than as it is what it is. Not reading in any inference, not using any ambiguous language that could mean two things. Ambiguous means it has a possibility of meaning two different things. Straight ahead, informational, super organized. That's what they want. So, okay, that's what you want to do. So the person grading your tests, writing a focused, organized essay, you make it easy for them to understand, you're going to get a good score. I think they're just happy they don't have to agonize over the scoring, and if it's really, really easy for the score to get through, they're happy. They don't have to work so hard. That's pretty much it. Okay, cut, copy, paste functions. You got a word processor. It's very, very simple. Okay. The second task is 30 minutes. First task, 20 minutes. Second task, 30 minutes. Second task, you need to be writing 300 words. That's quite a bit. So you don't exactly have a lot of time, to waste. Okay, because we've only got 10 minutes, I want to show you I want to share some other information, some basic points. Hang on a sec. Okay, strategies. Okay, top 10 strategies. Let's take a look here. Okay, and yes, absolutely, this goes for any exam. Any of these exams you're going to do, they have a very limited number of question types. This goes not just for writing, but for the other aspects of the exam, and not just for TOEFL. Every one of these exams has a very limited number of types of questions. Once you're familiar with them and you can recognize them immediately, it speeds up your response time a lot. Some students, let me advise you, it's just advice, but some students think that, oh, I don't have vocabulary about some different academic possibilities, academic topic possibilities. Trying to study topics to prepare for these tests, TOEFL, IELTS, CAE, that's you're searching for a needle in a haystack. There are thousands of possible topics, and there's like 8 different types of questions. Would you rather focus on getting 8 things right or 3,000 things right? I mean, that's my question when it comes to studying for these exams. It seems ludicrous to me to try to study topics because you never know what your topics are going to be. And it would be horrible to study 2,999 topics and then you get the topic that you didn't study. Big waste of time. Okay. As I mentioned, be familiar with the directions and examples. Okay. Be familiar with the directions. Be able to recognize them immediately. Again, as I said, especially with task 2, I'm continuously, as I'm writing, make sure I double check the directions and make sure that I am following them and I am answering the question. Again, that's 25% of the score. Secondly, 500, really, Albina? A waste of paper.
Yes, really, very thick book, yes.
Killing trees for no reason. Horrible. Yeah, well, many people think that. I don't get it. Because none of the exam, even the reading part of the exam where you have these, obviously academic type material, which a wide range of topics. Okay, you have a book with 500. I mean, you don't have to know specific material in any of these. In speaking, reading, listening, writing, the listening questions are not in TOEFL. In IELTS now, on the other hand, sometimes specific information is asked about. In TOEFL, it's almost all general. So there's no reason to know a specific topic in very specific ways, in very detailed ways. It's not necessary. It's not what the questions are like. Okay. Come up with a plan. Figure out what you're going to do before you ever get into that testing center. Know how long you're going to take. Are you going to write an outline? How long are you going to take to write your outline? Are you going to brainstorm for 1 minute about keywords? Have your plan. Know exactly what you're going to do. I will start writing after 5 minutes exactly, and then in 25 minutes I will write. And if 5 minutes goes by and you're not done your outline, start writing anyway. Stick with your plan is your best bet. Got to have that intro paragraph. Got to have that conclusion paragraph. In the task 1, of course, the important thing is to understand the main points of the reading compared to the main points of the lecturer that you listen to. Your number of paragraphs will correspond directly to the number of points that the lecturer agrees with or disagrees with. Remember, the lecturer will either agree or disagree with the reading that you do. So that's how many paragraphs you need. If there's 3 points he agrees with, well, then you should have introduction, 3 paragraphs, conclusion. Simple. Conclusion, of course, you're just basically restating your introduction in a different way, again, with synonyms, maybe a different sentence structure, like a passive, for example. Your task 2, your opinion should be 4, 5, 6 paragraphs. What they're looking for. Again, same idea. The body paragraphs are each of your points that you want to bring up. First of all, I want to live in a tropical area because I hate the cold. Second paragraph, I want to live in a tropical area because I love the activities like surfing. Oh, examples. I like to go surfing. I like to go swimming, blah, blah, blah. Third, furthermore, another reason is because I get sick easily in a cold climate. I was sick for 6 months when I was living in Siberia, whatever. Okay, so each separate point is another separate paragraph. What's that, Albina? What's your question? I'm not sure I understand.
So now I think we cannot read the essay according to this strategy, the first type of essay, which is based on listening.
Yeah.
So we are speaking about second opinion essay, yes?
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yes, yes. That's right. That's right. Okay. All right, I already mentioned this. Brainstorm for 3 to 5 minutes. Know how long you're going to take to brainstorm. Practice that and see how long you really need to help yourself get organized. Okay. Write simple sentences to help you put your ideas in a complete form. Well, maybe, maybe not. Depends on your experience in writing. I don't need to do this. I can write an outline with 1-word headings and maybe collocated words, 2-word headings, but I don't need that. I can write a compound, complex sentence working off 1 keyword. So I don't think that's necessarily true. Order your ideas in a logical pattern. Well, that's quite obvious. Again, the whole thing about transitions. You must use detailed examples in task 1. Obviously, you're just reporting what the lecturer said, so those are examples. In task 2, examples from we're talking about examples from your personal life. You have to have examples, okay? You can't get away from that. It's in the scoring rubric. Okay, and I've already said this 3 times. Effective words and transition words. Oh yeah, what I haven't said, you really should need to practice so that you get it down so you can have 2 to 4 minutes for editing. Also, in addition to that, know what you're editing for. You make mistakes with articles, a, and the. Okay, that's primarily what you're going to focus on in editing. You have problems with punctuation. All right. When you have your 2 to 4 minutes at the end, that's what you should be concentrating on. So know your own strengths and weaknesses. Okay. And hopefully, I guarantee if you give yourself 2 minutes to proofread, you will find things to correct. I am certain. I'm absolutely 100% certain of that. I don't think there's a human being alive who can write 300 words in 25 minutes or 22 minutes and get everything absolutely correct. Okay. Make sure you've written about the given prompt. I mentioned this. I continuously look at the question to make sure I'm on the right track. Concentration is an important factor. Yes, it is. Here, a very simple last point. Make sure you do not stay up the night before the test studying. Get a good night's rest. Have a big breakfast in the morning so you've got plenty of brain fuel. There's nothing worse than trying to take one of these exams when you're tired. Okay, any last questions? Tomorrow, yeah, Alvina?
What is the deadline for essay? You offered us to write example essay. When should it be written?
Yeah, sure. Okay, well, today was the first class. At this exact time, the next 3 days. On the third day, we will look at somebody's example. So you can send me by a verbling message sent there. You can send me your essay, and we're going to look at it again anonymously in 3 days. Today's Monday. Right now, where I am, anyway. You guys may be in a different part of the world, so that would be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at this time. Yeah. In fact, if I get a bunch of them, I will actually look at them as examples in over the next 2 classes as well. If I have enough response, we'll see. Tomorrow, speaking of the next 2 classes, tomorrow we're going to look at task 1. That's the integrated task, reading. We're going to walk through it, looking at a template, and we're collectively going to write an essay. Slow and steady, and really, we're going to walk through it. The next day, same thing, but with the essay. That's the plan. And the 4th day, we're going to edit together, look at what could be done better. Hi, Nader. How are you? What is the verb for the whole night study before exams? Cram. Yeah, no, I don't recommend cramming. To cram for an exam. Okay, I'm way over time. I'm already late for my next class, so thank you guys. Hopefully I'll see you tomorrow.
Bye. Thank you very much.
Bye,
See you,
teacher.
teacher.